On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, online platform Ask the Doctor adds Bitcoin to payment options to protect privacy. TunnelBear is the simple VPN app that makes it easy to browse the web privately and enjoy a more open and secure internet experience. Try TunnelBear for free by checking out the link in the video description below. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. So let's get into today's news. Today's news comes from the Cointelegraph, cointelegraph.com. And this article is entitled Online Platform Ask the Doctor Adds Bitcoin to Payment Options to Protect Privacy. So here we go. Online medical inquiry platform accepts Bitcoin to protect patient privacy and makes users comfortable when asking health-related questions. So there we go. Privacy and health issues, pretty closely related, because kind of like, health issues are very personal. Some people are a bit, uncomfortable about people knowing the intricacies of their health. So the first bit I've highlighted here says, Ask the Doctor, a Canadian medical startup, has officially announced that they are now accepting Bitcoin on their platform to pay for their services through BitPay. So BitPay are providing the actual, collection of the Bitcoin payments. And BitPay kind of became famous because they appeal to companies who are just a bit too nervous to take Bitcoin and then hold the Bitcoin because of the fluctuating price. So BitPay have that automatic reconciling feature where if you accept a Bitcoin payment, they will instantaneously convert it into your local fiat currency and then transfer it to your bank. That is, of course, assuming that you have a currency that they support. And it says here in the article, the main reason for this, the main reason they've decided to accept this Bitcoin, is to increase customer privacy using Bitcoin's anonymity benefits that credit cards cannot offer. Now, how is that possible? Well, simply because Bitcoin is a cash-based system. And the main reason we give out so much personal information in the fiat economy is to combat fraud. So the other reason, as well as fraud, is to combat, or basically because of debt. So you need to know specifically who owes you the money so you can go after them if they stop paying you. That's pretty straightforward, right? And then, so when I think about this, when I think about those inherent features of our fiat currency system, I think, imagine, like, if you've got a minute, do a little daydream. Imagine a world in which there was no debt, right? I'm talking about, say, an entirely cash-based society where everyone saved up enough money before they bought the thing that they wanted to buy. Now, that doesn't really work when it comes to, say, buying a house, because you'd spend decades saving up. So in that particular case, debt is kind of necessary if you ever want to make a purchase of that size. But even that, I suppose, only is based on the assumption that we have to own the place that we live in. And well, that's a discussion for another day. So debt in our economy is okay, as long as it only goes one layer deep, or rather, it only goes one layer away from the actual real value. So by that I mean, if there's 10 people who each have a 100 Bitcoin mortgage, those Bitcoins will still be circulating in the economy, right? That's how it's supposed to work. That's very different than the system we have now, where when a person takes out say $100,000 mortgage, that creates $100,000 worth of new currency. Now, it didn't used to work like that. The banking system is supposed to work by having $100,000 in deposits from savers, people putting that much money into their savings account, either single person or collectively. Then the bank has $100,000 to lend out. And then they charge a certain interest rate on the mortgage, say 5%, They give 2.5% interest to the person who put the money in the savings account, and the bank makes the difference, which is the 2.5%, and which they have to pay for their administration and their staff and so on. Now that's the boring banking model, right? It's the old boring banking model that works, right? Inevitably, what happened? Greed crept in, and they're like, how do we squeeze more money out of this transaction, right? Well, what if we introduced fractional reserve banking, where if we have $100,000 on deposit from savers, let's say we lend out $1 million, right? Which is daft, because if you lend out $1 million and you only have $100,000 in actual deposits, well, 900,000 of those dollars don't really exist, right? So you get debt on top of debt on top of debt, and it's not real money. And that's the paper money system that we have now. So it's just gone all out of proportion. Anyway, so under this next heading that says more privacy, it says the company's goal is to allow users to have more confidence when they're asking questions that they do not wish anyone to know or are embarrassed about. So the service itself lets users send questions to experts and receive fast replies without having to speak to a family doctor. So there we go again, a real use case, a real problem that only Bitcoin can really solve. So cash is private too, right? It's anonymous. You just give it to the person, but it can't be transferred over the web. And also you have to show your face, because you have to be, physically in front of the person to hand them the cash, or you have to send it in the mail or something, and that's not secure. So Bitcoin is the only real solution if you want a cash system and you want it to be private, right? The other thing I noticed here is that this company is Canadian. And I've noticed a few Canadian startups doing innovative things in the fintech space. And where I can see that going is I can see Canada kind of eating America's lunch if the US doesn't stop dicking about and getting in the way of this kind of innovation. So I'm going to skip past the quotes because that bit's all boring. The next bit I wanted to talk about was this. The heading is Bitcoin in the health sector. And the bit I've highlighted in yellow here says the North American health sector itself has started to explore blockchain-based technologies, and Canada is already embracing Bitcoin as a form of payment. Furthermore, companies such as Factum and BitMD have already introduced their ways of implementing blockchain into healthcare with databases and Bitcoin point-of-sale terminals in the United States. Now, I haven't spoke about this in a while on the Cryptoverse, but I really do like this idea of putting medical records on a blockchain. So a blockchain is just a database, right? We talk about that all the time. And blockchains are good at recording ownership of a particular asset in such a way that the owner has control over it being edited. So what that leads to in the healthcare industry is a situation where my medical records are stored in an encrypted form, and with me holding the private key to that record. So when I say go to a medical professional of any kind, I can unlock my portion or a portion of my medical records, or I can just allow a specific doctor to view a specific part of my medical records, but not change them. Say if I go for a consultation and there's no need for them to make any changes at that stage, then I can just give them access to view all of my records, or I can just give them access to view a certain portion of it, right? And this would make it super easy for me to find the best medical care in the free market, since my records go with me wherever I go, because they're stored decentralized accessible online and can be immediately accessed by whichever medical professional I choose to go to, right? And then I can also revoke access whenever I want, whenever I finish with the doctor, because it's my data. So guys, that's all I've really got for you today. There's lots of news stories every day, but there's no point in me just covering news unless I've actually got some commentary. So I have to read a whole bunch of articles, find one that actually stimulates some additional insight, because that's the value that I am adding on top of you just reading the article yourself, right? So today, this was the only article I could find where I could generate any additional commentary or insight, which is why it's a reasonably short and skinny episode today. But that's going to happen. Some days I'm going to have a lot to say and the episode goes to 20 minutes when it should only be 15 minutes. And some days it's going to be shorter But that's just the ebb and flow of things. I don't want to manufacture things to say just to pad out the time. So this is the way it goes. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked this video, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. Or even consider supporting me directly by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and sending me a Bitcoin tip to the address on that page. If you would like to support me without actually spending any money, click through to the Steemit network, vote for this episode. That will get me some cryptocurrency without you having to actually spend a penny. If you're the type of person that would like something physical in exchange for your donation, head over to the Cryptoversity store and you'll be able to buy yourself a t-shirt with the Cryptoversity branding on it. That kind of thing helps me out a lot. And finally, if you would like a more structured information on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies and blockchains, head over to the courses section and buy yourself an online course. But that's all for today, so until tomorrow and the next episode of the Cryptoverse, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.